10 police officers, 5 of whom in riot gear, stormed the house of an auditor, a sort of online citizen journalist, if you will. Some people love them, some people hate them, that's not the point. All because he entered a migrant hotel and consumed a meal. Now, I'll have my thoughts about that a little bit later in this video, not to draw conclusions, because that is now a live case, because he's been arrested and charged, but there's been a lot of questions raised as to whether the police response in cases like this is proportionate or whether it is plainly two-tier. So I'm going to compare one or two cases in this, and I'm also going to talk about the use of flags, because flags are going up everywhere and there are a few questions, so I'll point you to some resources a bit later in the video, and a little bit of hypocrisy from Birmingham Council regarding flags in the second half of the video. So if you haven't worked it out by now, we're on Black Belt Secrets, so this doesn't really fit on Black Belt Barrister or anywhere else, so I'll do that here. Now, the first story I'd like to turn to is this one here, where this was, oddly enough, a video released by the police bragging that they'd caught a vehicle with no license and presumably no insurance, and the driver asked the police officer for a selfie. Now, this ostensibly was a foreigner, migrant of sorts. I don't know the details. I'm not being rude, but clearly not very good English. But this was the police officer here stopping this vehicle because he almost caused a crash. So you can see in this video here, she stops this vehicle. I'm going to turn the volume down so it doesn't interrupt me, but you can see that the police officer stopped this vehicle, pulled him over. He got into the car. Turns out that he's got no license. So not only was the vehicle not displaying the VRM properly, but the driver had no license to drive. That is an offence in itself. Presumably he had no insurance, etc., all of which he could be arrested for, could be produced at court for, but she just let him go. All she did was seize the vehicle. Now, on the one hand, yes, getting the vehicle off the road was a safe thing to do, but that was it. No further action that we know of against this driver, raising the question that why is this an appropriate response to such a dangerous driver? Not dangerous driver as in the offence of dangerous driving, but obviously driving dangerously as he nearly caused a crash and driving without insurance and license and so on. So all of which pretty bad. So you can question the response of the police there. Now, moving on to the police raiding the home of an auditor, citizen journalist guy. He calls himself Migrant Auditor, and so on the face of it is some sort of undercover journalist, and he goes into these hotels filming to see what's going on in these hotels, clearly running as a free-for-all canteen because I think it's in the public interest for people to know what's going on here. This is, I suppose, a form of undercover journalism. I'm not commenting on the case against him specifically. I'm just commenting generally on what's going on here. Now, obviously, it's set up to cater for tea and coffee and meals and so on. But the police say that because he entered and consumed the meal, they've now charged him with burglary. Now, I'll come back to some of the elements in a moment without commenting specific on his case, but I will come back to generally some of the elements they would have to show for burglary and so on in just a moment. But as posted by David Atherton here, now, this is all, again, it is public journalism. We are allowed to talk about these things within reason, without drawing conclusions, so that it doesn't jeopardize any case against him and the proceeds of justice and so on. But this here, let me turn the volume off as well. This here is the video that was posted because the police here turned up to his address. Now, I don't know why they thought that it was necessary to turn up in riot gear, prepared to break down the door. Maybe they had intel that there was a need for that. I don't know. But when you look at the response by police to this scenario, the vehicle scenario, and another one I'll show you in a minute, this does seem a little bit heavy-handed and a little bit over the top. Now, I've talked a lot about the issues about illegal migration to the UK. I've got my thoughts on it. Lots of people have got their thoughts on it. But now, more than ever, people are worried about posting those thoughts online. There is even a dedicated elite police unit set up to monitor social media activity for people commenting anti-migrant posts online. And now, more than ever, people are worried about being arrested for what they've posted online. Now, I am by no stretch encouraging anybody to post any hateful comment online, but if you are worried about what you are posting, even if you think what you're posting is perfectly okay, you are better to do so anonymously. And the best way to remain anonymous is to use a service like NordVPN. And as it happens, I get you a great discount. If you haven't used a VPN already, stick around and you will get this discount. Now, what is a VPN? A lot of you may have heard about them and not really know what they are, but now is the best time to learn what they are. So VPN stands for Virtual Private Network, and when you connect to it, your browsing remains anonymous. Now, whilst staying truly anonymous is practically impossible, there is a great guide by NordVPN, which I'll link below, which together with using NordVPN as a service will help you to stay as anonymous as possible. And whilst connected to the service, it will keep all of your online traffic encrypted, meaning most hackers, snoopers, advertisers, etc. won't be able to see your online traffic. So it's more of a privacy tool than true anonymity, but every little bit can help. It also gives you a virtual location and masks your IP address. And not only that, it will also help to block adverts, malicious websites, and malicious downloads. And as promised, as they're a partner to my channel, you get a great discount, which is 4 months extra free off the service using the code BlackBeltSecrets at the link in the description below. Once you download it and activate it, you'll get this peace of mind. You'll know that you're that little bit more protected. And of course, you get a 30-day money-back guarantee if you change your mind, but the peace of mind will be well worth it. So don't forget the code BlackBeltSecrets at the link, and thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring this video. So as it happens, he does come out quietly. They arrest him and they've charged him with burglary. Again, I'll come back to that in a moment because this is quite an interesting thing to talk about. Now, moving to this video here, you'd have probably seen this video circulating where this man, now in the police vehicle, was found to be entering a blind woman's home without her knowledge, without her consent, etc. And ultimately, the police did nothing about it. He was followed by members of the public, and ultimately, you'll recognize this photograph here, where he was stood here and not really questioned by the police officers. In fact, the police officers then set up a dispersal order, which is known as a Section 35 dispersal order, which requires a senior officer's authorization to remove people from the area where they believe that there might be people being harassed, alarmed, distressed, or crime and disorder that is going to take place in that area. So they issued this order, and then I understand that they arrested somebody else as well for breach of that order. Now, there are 2 police reports on this incident, the first of which pretty much dismissed it, which resulted in a bit of public backlash because the public quite rightly really were upset that somebody, ostensibly an illegal migrant living in a hotel, went into this woman's home. And obviously people were upset about that. That is not a controversial thing to say at all. People would be upset about an uninvited person coming into the house. So this was the first police update here. Said we're aware of videos circulating online relating to an incident that officers were called to at 18:07 hours on Wednesday. We understand that a man entered a property through an open door, having been followed by a group of men in the street. The man has not been arrested, as at the time the initial investigation had not identified any offences. We understand this is distressing for occupants. That, on the face of it, seemed to be it. So, seems to be quite a different telling story there. The police have now updated that, and to say, just so that you are up to date as to what's going on here, the police have now said, they say, on Wednesday, we released an initial statement following the incident at the Yellow Dogs where a man allegedly entered the woman's flat. He was detained by members of the public nearby. The investigation continued on Thursday with officers carrying out extensive CCTV inquiries and speaking to witnesses. As a result of this, in the early hours of the morning, we arrested a man in Hackney on suspicion of common assault. He's believed to be in his early 20s. We can confirm that the man who allegedly entered the flat. We can confirm that this is the man who allegedly entered the flat. He's now in police custody. So without commenting on either of those cases specifically, you can see why the public might have the perception that there is a very different police response to these scenarios. Now, what I would say, being the balanced lawyer here, whilst we're on Black Belt Secrets, what I will say is we don't always know all the facts. We don't always know what's going on. We don't always know that the police are, and whether the police are following up these investigations in the background. And in this case, they obviously did. They looked at the CCTV. They did follow it up. But one would question whether or not that would have happened had there not been public attention, social media, and awareness to these cases that, in essence, may have forced the police hand to look into this case. But you might still question the proportionality of the police response by turning up to the auditor's house in full riot gear, as opposed to just letting this guy go in the first instance. I've had police officers, serving and retired, email me about that case, because I talked about that before, to say that at the very least, which was my view, at the very least, they should have detained him at the time on suspicion of burglary. This is the second guy, on suspicion of burglary for questioning, because he entered as a trespasser and who knows what the intent was. So in that scenario, lots of police officers, both current and former, were of the view that he should have been arrested and questioned on suspicion of burglary. But as it happens, the police have now confirmed what they have now done. So now let's look very briefly back at the offence of burglary. It's under the Theft Act, Section 9. Person is guilty of burglary if they enter the building as a trespasser, so it has to be without the owner's consent. So there's an argument, speaking generally, there's an argument if somebody lets you into the property, are they really a trespasser because someone has let you into the property with the intent to commit any offences in Section 2, or having entered the building as a trespasser, steals or attempts to steal anything in the building or cause grievous bodily harm. And so stealing something may amount to consuming food, but they would have to then prove the theft of it, i.e. the dishonest intent part of that. Is it dishonest if somebody gives something to you? These are the kind of questions that will be raised. Is it dishonest to eat a meal that someone is giving you, or if you potentially have the intention of paying for it, if they ask for payment and so on? It's a bit like that offering payment by novelty coin when the shop has previously said they will accept it. There's no dishonest intent there because you've got every intention to pay if they accept payment, but if they don't want the payment, it's no longer dishonest. So those are questions there. And so in either of those cases, they will have to look to prove each element of the offence of burglary. And so that's about all I can say without commenting specifically on the case. Those are generally things that they will have to prove to the offence of burglary. Okay, back to talking about flags. A lot of people have asked questions about flags. Is it legal to fly them? Which flags can you fly? Do you need permission? And so on. Well, there's a very useful guide on the government website here, and it very nicely says the following. Flags are a very British way of expressing joy and pride. They are emotive symbols which can boost local and national identities, strengthen community cohesion, and mark civic pride. The government wants to see more flags flown, particularly the Union flag, the flag of the United Kingdom. It is a symbol of national unity and pride. The government has recently issued guidance encouraging the flying of the Union flag on all government buildings throughout the year alongside other national and local flags. Question, is that happening? Do you see the Union flag being flown on government buildings throughout the year, throughout the country? If not, send them this guidance and tell them that they should be flying the flag and that there's no problem in doing so. I'll come back to the hypocrisy in just a minute. It says, we are keen for local authorities and other local organisations to follow suit. We've made it easier for the Union flag to be flown alongside other flags, so organisations can highlight their local identities as well as other national identities and celebrate special days, events with champion civic pride. In England, the flying of flags is treated as advertisements for the purposes of planning regime to ensure that flags do not impact safety or amenity. Some flags require formal consent, permission from the local planning authority, whereas others, like the Union flag, do not. The detailed controls over flag flying are set out in the detailed regulations. So I'll link this below and you can go and check it out. But where now to the hypocrisy? Well, we can look here at this Birmingham City post here. I'll open this in a new tab so I can zoom in a bit more. Advertise in Birmingham City. Now, bearing in mind that councillors have been seen to be going around taking down flags because they say they don't like them, and they've cited all sorts of things. I've even seen, I won't put it on screen now, but I've even seen one document to say that the flags might damage the lampposts and it might pull them down. They are not built to withstand additional weight, such as a flag on the lamppost. Grok tells me that it will be about 20,000 flags required before the weight of them pulled down a lamppost. But there we go. Despite all that, the hypocrisy is thus. It says you can advertise in Birmingham city centre. Looking for ways to advertise to reach thousands of people, our big city dressing advertising portfolio comprises flags, banners and signs located on busy routes in and out of the city, as well as central locations such as Colmore Row and New Street. With a population of over 1.1 million and 34 million visitors in 2017, the big city dressing portfolio provides a highly effective and competitively priced means of reaching your target audience. And commuter routes, it says, stand out on big city flags are situated along the busiest routes into the city, including the A38 and so on. So they're actually advertising the fact that they will put up advertises flags and banners and signs and other stuff along busy routes in and out of the city, around the area, to advertise your business. Now, at the same time, they say that planning rules require certain flags need permission so that it doesn't change the amenity of the area. But want to pay us for advertising? Sure, we'll put that up anywhere on the busy routes in and out of the city so that you can see all sorts of adverts wherever they are, whatever they're attached to, in and out of the city. Come one, come all, let's do the advertising, because obviously they get a little bit of money from it. A little bit of hypocrisy there, but if you're interested in flying flags, do look up the rules. They do want you to express joy and pride, and they want to see more flags, everybody. So the government wants to see more flags flown, particularly the Union flag. So that might feature in the thumbnail for this video. Do check out the rules. Do go and fly the Union flag with pride, as the government suggests. And I thank you for watching this video so that you're a little bit more informed as to what's going on. And let me know your thoughts and comments in the box below, particularly if you are a current or previously serving police officer. I will keep your anonymity, but I do appreciate your comments and your emails, so thank you very much for those. Do like the video and subscribe. We're here on Black Belt Secrets, where things don't quite fit anywhere else, but I love to share them with you nonetheless. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.